It is not just disrespectful when someone talks over you. It is disorienting. 1 second, you are explaining your thought, sharing your idea, offering your truth. And the next, you are watching someone else take the space that belonged to your voice. And in that split second, something strange happens inside you. You freeze. You shrink. You feel the tension in your chest, but no words come out. Because you are not just trying to get your words back. You are trying to decide whether it is even worth it anymore. Most people do not talk about this. The subtle power dynamic of being interrupted. The silent internal collapse that happens when your words are pushed aside mid-sentence. It is not just about who is speaking louder. It is about who is allowed to matter in the moment. And when it happens often enough, you start to question your place in the room altogether. You tell yourself, maybe I was too slow. Maybe what I was saying was not that important. Maybe they just got excited. And all of that might be true. But if it keeps happening, there is something else going on. A line is being crossed. And if you never respond, you are teaching people that you are okay with being stepped over. Not just once, but always. We have been taught that confidence is loud, that you fight back, that you raise your voice to match theirs. But real confidence is not volume, it is stillness. Real confidence is not trying to overpower them. It is knowing that you never needed to. Because the moment you lose your calm, you lose your center. And your center is where your strength lives. So what do you do when someone talks over you? When someone cuts you off in a meeting? When someone jumps into your sentence like it was theirs to finish? You do not panic. You do not beg to speak again. You do not laugh it off like it never happened. You learn to hold your ground without raising your tone. You learn to carry authority without needing to prove anything. Because if you are not careful, you will spend your life letting people rewrite your voice right in front of you. And one day, you will forget how powerful it used to feel to speak without fear. This is not about being aggressive. It is about being anchored. And that begins the moment you decide that your voice is not something you wait to get back. It is something you never give away in the first place. The biggest mistake we make when someone talks over us is thinking we need to match their energy to get our voice back. We raise our tone. We throw sarcasm like a shield. We interrupt them back, just to prove that we can. Because in that moment, we do not just feel ignored, we feel small. And no one wants to feel small. So we fight for space. We chase respect. We try to win the moment by being louder, sharper, faster. But here is the truth. When you chase power in a conversation, you lose it. Because now the conversation is not about your point. It is about your pride. And when your pride takes the lead, your presence disappears. You might say things like, "Oh, I am sorry, am I interrupting your interruption?" You might stop mid-sentence and stare them down, waiting for an apology. You might even withdraw completely, just to make them feel guilty. But none of those strategies work, because none of them are rooted in confidence. They are reactions born from feeling disrespected. And while that feeling is valid, your reaction must be wiser than your wound. We have all seen it. People in meetings trying to talk over each other, each one pushing louder, trying to reclaim their place. It does not build clarity, it builds chaos. No one listens. No one grows. It becomes a battle of noise. And the one who wins is not the one who spoke the truth. It is the one who refused to be pulled into the noise in the first place. When you respond with edge, you give away your authority. When you try to cut them back with the same sharpness, you are not resetting the energy. You are matching it. You are saying your behavior defines mine. You are no longer leading the conversation. You are surviving it. And survival might feel strong for a moment. But strength is not how quickly you can defend, it is how clearly you can decide. Decide who you want to be in that moment. Decide what tone you want to keep. Decide whether the reaction you are about to offer is helping you reclaim your space or just reflect your frustration. The point is not to make them feel bad for cutting you off. The point is to never lose your voice while keeping your character. That is harder. That takes presence, because presence is not performance. It is posture. The way you sit, the way you breathe, the way your tone stays steady even when there's climbs. The worst thing you can do is to fight fire with fire, because when you both burn, nothing is left. And what could have been a conversation becomes a competition. What could have been clarity becomes confusion. What could have been leadership becomes noise. So do not try to overpower them. Do not try to reclaim the spotlight. You were never meant to perform for it. You were meant to carry it. And the moment you start chasing it, you lose what made you strong to begin with. What you need in that moment is not comeback energy. You need composure. Because when someone interrupts you, they are not just challenging your words. They are challenging your regulation. And the person who controls the tone controls the direction. So yes, it is tempting to lash back. It is tempting to throw a clever line. But you are not here to entertain them. You are here to embody your values, to carry your clarity, to hold your space with strength so quiet that it cannot be shaken by noise. Because if your response costs you your center, it was never worth it. Let them rise. Let them interrupt. Let them perform. But you stay grounded. And when you do speak again, let your words be wrapped not in spite, but in steadiness. That is the kind of strength that cannot be talked over. There is a moment when someone talks over you that feels like the air has been knocked out of the room. You are mid-thought, mid-sentence, your mind still holding the weight of what you were about to say. But their voice crashes in like a wave, and just like that your words feel lost. Most people freeze. They stop. They retreat. Because we are taught to believe that the person who interrupts has taken the stage. That once your sentence is broken, so is your right to finish it. But that belief is wrong. Because just because someone cuts in does not mean they have taken control. It only means they are trying to. And the way you respond in that moment will determine whether they succeed or not. The first and most powerful strategy is also the simplest. You keep talking. You do not rush. You do not raise your voice. You do not change your tone. You keep the exact same pace, the same sentence, the same rhythm, as if nothing happened. Because what you are signaling is this: I do not need to fight you for this space. I already own it. When you stop talking the moment someone talks over you, you are surrendering not just the floor but the authority of your presence. You are telling yourself and everyone listening that your words were optional. But when you keep speaking with the same clarity, you make it clear that your words matter, that your message does not yield to noise, that your presence is not shaken by disruption. And here is the shift. Most people believe that the only way to reclaim attention is to fight for it. But attention earned through conflict is not respect. It is reaction. What you want is to lead the room back to you without demanding it. And you do that by being the only one not competing. You do that by letting their interruption reveal their urgency and your stability. When you stay steady, something incredible happens. People notice the contrast. They hear your tone, and they hear theirs. They see who is grounded and who is grasping. And slowly, the energy returns to you. Not because you forced it, but because you held your center long enough for them to lose theirs. Let the other voice rise. Let them stumble. Let them realize that interruption only works when it breaks something. And you are not breakable. This strategy is not about pretending the interruption did not happen. It is about showing that it did not rattle you. You acknowledge it by not reacting to it. You answer it by being unaffected. You turn it from a threat into an opportunity to demonstrate calm authority. Because leadership is not always in the words you say. Sometimes it is in the words you continue saying, even when someone else tries to steal the moment. And if you can hold your sentence, you are already holding your space. The second instinct most people have when they are talked over is to raise their voice, to meet volume with volume, to let the heat in the room decide how hot they should burn. It feels natural. You feel invaded. So you push back. You speak louder, firmer, sharper. But here is the truth most people miss. The moment you raise your voice to match theirs, you have already given up control. Because now the conversation is no longer about content. It is about collision. And collisions may feel powerful, but they never move anything forward. When you speak louder to reclaim space, you are no longer anchoring the room. You are echoing its chaos. And what began as a thoughtful contribution becomes a tug of war for dominance. People stop listening. They start choosing sides. The message gets buried under the emotion. And the voice that started from clarity now sounds like another player in the game of who can win the room. But you are not here to win the room. You are here to lead it. And leadership never shouts. It doesn't need to. It speaks at the same tone no matter who tries to override it. Because true presence is not volume. It is steadiness. It is the quiet confidence that does not flinch when challenged and does not rise just because someone else does. The discipline here is restraint. The discipline is staying low when the energy goes high, staying slow when the other person speeds up, keeping your cadence even when the room gets loud. Because you are not just protecting your voice, you are defining it. You are saying, I do not need to raise myself to be heard. I need to remain myself to be respected. There is a deeper psychology at work in every conversation. People are not just reacting to what you say, they are reacting to how you make them feel. And when your tone stays calm under pressure, you make people feel safe. They trust your presence because they can sense that you are not reacting, you are choosing. And that kind of choice builds credibility faster than any volume ever could. You might be tempted to interrupt back, to win the game by playing it better. But every time you copy the behavior that you disliked in someone else, you trade your leadership for their approval. And the approval never comes. Because people do not remember who won the argument. They remember who kept their character while being tested. So what do you do instead? You hold the volume of your voice exactly where it was before, even if they speak over it, even if the moment gets messy. Because when you refuse to elevate, you force others to come back down. You become the reset. You become the mirror that shows them their own intensity without reflecting it. There is power in being the most calm person in the room. Not passive, calm. You do not surrender your message. You deliver it without panic, without the need to prove, without fear. Because power is not in how loud you speak. It is in how little you need to. There comes a point where calm presence is not enough, where continuing to speak is not enough, where holding your volume steady is not enough, because some people do not interrupt by accident. They do it as a habit, as a form of power, as a way to test what you will tolerate. And in those moments, the most assertive thing you can do is call the moment for what it is. You say their name. It sounds simple, but it is one of the most powerful ways to break the pattern without breaking the connection. Because when you say someone's name in the middle of an interruption, you shift their attention. You remind them that you see them, that you are aware, and more importantly, that you are not disappearing just because they spoke first. Saying the name resets the rhythm. It pauses their momentum. It breaks the flow of dominance, and it gives you the space to follow with clarity. You can say their name and then state the truth directly, not emotionally, not passively, just clearly. You say something like, David, I was still speaking, or Sarah, please let me finish, or James, I need to complete this thought. You are not asking for permission. You are holding your place. You are doing what a strong communicator does. You are standing your ground without raising your voice. You are inviting accountability without creating shame. Because names carry power. Not when used to blame, but when used to direct attention. When someone hears their name in a moment of tension, they are reminded of the relationship, the shared space, the mutual presence. It is no longer just about the point. It is about the respect between people. And respect begins where clarity is spoken. Many people fear this move. They worry it will sound rude or confrontational. But let me be clear. It is not rude to protect your space in a conversation. It is not confrontational to name the moment that needs correction. It is responsible. And when done with a steady voice and clear intention, it builds more trust than silence ever could. Because silence in the face of disrespect is not strength. It is confusion. It confuses the other person into thinking what they did is okay, and it confuses you into thinking you have to accept it. But the moment you speak their name and draw the line with kindness, everything becomes clear again. The room adjusts, the energy shifts, and you regain the space that was yours from the beginning. This technique is not about calling people out. It is about calling them in, calling them back into the structure of a respectful conversation, into a rhythm where both voices matter. And when you do it with poise, it creates more impact than any argument ever could. So next time someone cuts you off, do not shrink. Do not escalate. Say their name. Say your truth. And keep your tone steady. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is not a clever line or a louder word. It is a name, followed by a boundary that you refuse to move. If you let it happen once, it becomes a mistake. If you let it happen twice, it becomes a habit. And if you let it happen every day, it becomes who you are. That is the cost of silence when someone talks over you. It is not just a lost sentence. It is a message to yourself that your words are not worth defending. But here is the truth. People do not learn how to treat you by reading your mind. They learn by observing your boundaries. And if you never hold a line, they will never know it exists. Boundaries in communication are not walls. They are clarity. They tell others what kind of presence you bring and what kind of presence you will allow. And the longer you wait to draw that line, the more permission you give to voices that were never meant to overpower yours. When you respond with stillness, when you refuse to play the game of interruption, when you say their name and reclaim your space, you are not creating conflict. You are correcting confusion. You are showing everyone in the room, including yourself, that you will not shrink to keep the peace. Because peace that requires you to disappear is not peace. It is quiet control. And control has no place in a conversation where both voices deserve to be heard. The way you handle interruptions is not just a tactic. It is a declaration. It says, I know what I bring. I will not compete for space that already belongs to me. I will speak with clarity. I will listen with respect. And I will hold myself to the standard I expect from others. You do not need to be the loudest. You just need to be the clearest. Because when your presence is grounded in purpose, no one can speak over that.